Yes, yes, yo. Here he is. I remember to take down my banner. Leaps and bounds, let me tell you. So Candace Owens, we gonna get right into it. Candace Owens debated the legendary, infamous Nick Fuentes. Let's see how this whole thing went down.
So I'm trying to understand if you're actually, you think that it's all Black people are like this, or if your world is kind of colored by this is what's going on in America. This has failed for 1,000 reasons. Welfareism has definitely, like, I mean, Black people in 1940s, stand up, my grand.
So we're watching the Hodge twins review of this. Now, this is where Candace Owens gets into trouble, right? She's debating a guy who is, self-proclaimed as, America first. He's a white first, kind of white nationalist type dude, edgy guy, Groyper leader. Here's where Candace gets into trouble. She is debating someone who doesn't believe that she is intelligent, right? So she is debating a white gentleman with the argument that Black people, because this is Candace's whole spiel. This is Candace's whole branding, is that Black people are lesser than, Black people are not as intelligent as white Americans. They're not as well behaved, and frankly, they're not to be taken serious. So she has a self defeating argument here because her as a Black woman now, especially a woman, oh boy, look out. She is debating a person who doesn't see her as an equal. So just off the bat, right, off rip, out the jump, right, out the gate, she can't win this debate just off that, just off the fact that she herself sees herself as lesser than.
And father, I talk about that denigration and the corrosion of culture. That's happening. White, Black, whatever you want to name it, there is this intentional corrosion of culture. So do you think it's literally, well, this is just what a Black person is when they come out? Or do you think that post welfare, LBJ, Great Society, this is what Black Americans have become, and I have a right to respond to that and say that as a white man, I don't want to live there?
I think this is Candace really asking this for the audience because Candace knows that Nick doesn't think that Black people are equal. Candace knows how Nick views Black people.
Well, I think it's more nature than people would like to believe. There's this classic tension of, is it nature, is it nurture, is it cultural, or is it intrinsic, is it racial? And I've always been on the latter side of this among conservatives. Conservatives like to say it's all culture. Black America is the way it is because of hip hop music and the Great Society and that kind of stuff. And I think the uncomfortable reality is a big part of it is intrinsic. One of the big arguments against the abolition of slavery in the 1860s is that, when Europeans colonized Africa, they hadn't discovered the wheel. There's no two-story buildings.
That's crazy. No wheel? No two-story buildings?
I don't know. Now, the Hodge twins fall into this problem as well. You see, I learned something very recently, probably about a few years ago, right? And I grew up around white communities. I grew up around plenty white people. I didn't grow up in Black communities. I didn't have a lot of interaction, right? Now, I learned something that's very valuable. And I learned that no matter what, socioeconomic level I reach, no matter what cultural circles I become intertwined with, I will never look down on Black people and giggle and haha with a white person. There is never a time in the future where I will put down a black person, laugh at a black person, or degrade a black person with a white person, right? Alongside a white person. Because at the end of the day, you know, these people who are, you know, adjacent to Nick here, these people don't see you as equal. And you have a lot of black Americans who fall for this trick. Candace is one of them. She thinks that if she stands up against the blacks in America, if she's, the mouthpiece speaking out against black behavior and black movements in America, she thinks that she's going to get these white people on her side. That's where she's wrong. You see? And Nick is telling her straight. He's like, "Yo, I don't see you as the same level as a person."
I wonder if they had fire. Nah, if I would have got dark.
And he just said that they didn't have any two-story buildings. They didn't this, they didn't that. You hear this a lot. Now, Nick is not an educated person. Candace is light years ahead of him in terms of academia, in terms of who she is, right? Nick, he rose to prominence a few years ago. He got into the political sphere. Like Candace Owens, if you're looking on an academic level, right, from a perspective of academia, Candace Owens is on paper more intelligent, more educated than Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes is not particularly intelligent. Nick Fuentes has a group of followers who extremely demonstrate, um, the classic undereducated white American. So he can get away with being medium tier. He has a lot of good arguments. He's good at debating, right? And he does say a lot of true things. But he can get away with this this pseudo intellectual branding that he puts on um in front of his guys, right? In front of his following. Because the people who are following him, they're not above him intellectually. They're not above him on an academic level. So they can't check him. They can't say, hey, the way he's bringing this point forth is kind of biased, or no, these people eat it up. They eat it up. And also what you have with Fuentes fans is these are people who like to point and blame, right? So these people will blame Jews often, or they'll blame immigrants. It's the Mexicans. I don't have a job because Mexicans are coming. I don't have a family because the Jews. These are people who are underachievers and they need someone to blame. They need a bad man to blame. So he's claiming now, Africans didn't do nothing, never built nothing. I find this quite hilarious. You look at this here, rock hewn churches in Lalibela. 11, not one, not five, not 10, 11 rock hewn churches of Lalibela are monolithic churches located in the western Ethiopian highlands, near the town of Lalibela, named after the late 12th and early 13th century King Gebre Meskel Lalibela. Who's that? Because groypers and all kind of white supremacists are gonna run to the internet and say, "Oh, there's no way that blacks built this." So they're gonna try and find, which white architects, which white, designers are really behind these, beautiful sculptures in the rock. All right, so let's see, what does King Lalibela look like? Okay, very interesting, very interesting. Okay, so that's King Lalibela, how he's depicted. Very interesting. Okay, so all 11 churches were a result of a process using the basic tools of hammers and chisels to excavate trenches surrounding the monolithic and semi monolithic structures, as well as a system of tunnels which connected two separate groups of the churches with each other out of the scoriaceous basalt. The construction was done from top to bottom. So, as you can see here, this is a church, in case you're not um, understanding what we're seeing here. This church is one piece. This is one single piece, right? It's a monolithic structure carved into a mountain. Carved into a mountain. This is built in the late 12th century, right? And you have 11 of these. So 12th century would be what 1100 something, right? 12th to 13th century would be 1100, the year 1100 and the year 1200, right? Not one, not two, not five, right? But 11 of these churches. So this whole idea that, blacks were rubbing sticks together, until the 13 and 1400s, you could tell this is why he gets away with this type of stuff with uneducated people. The Americans that this guy is catering to, these people can't even point to Ethiopia on a map. They can't point to Ukraine, they can't point to Italy, they can't point to UK, they can't name the continents, they can't identify flags. These are not intelligent people.
Yeah, got a new show for y'all. Got a damn good show. But before we get to today's video, don't forget about our new giveaway, 4250.
Yeah, the Hodge twins always be grifting some giveaway. Shout out to the Hodge twins, though. Good hustle.
Ranch camper, 10,000 in cash. You get in the win, just go to my website, officialalltwins.com. Anything you buy on the site, like my new tallow bomb or my methylene blue, get you automatically in the win. Yeah, that's crazy, man.
So if they didn't have a will, I know they didn't have no fire.
No, they couldn't. If they don't have two-story buildings, think they advanced it enough to spark flames?
There's no writing. There's no written language. Missionaries had to go to Africa in the last century and invent it for the.
That's crazy. No written language, no writing.
Yep, they didn't even have food. Actually, Europeans had to bring them food. They didn't know how to eat. Africans weren't eating until about 200 years ago.
Maybe they'd be like,
Hey, can be still, girl.
Maybe they was more advanced.
How can you
Maybe
maybe
they
they
had-
got no language?
Maybe they had telepathy. They could read each other's minds.
Well, some of them got some big foreheads down there.
Maybe they got some telepathy going.
Yeah.
African people because there's no recorded history. They didn't have writing.
So Egypt is not in Africa.
Well, Egypt is a different race.
You know what?
Yeah.
A lot of people think all of Africa is nothing but sub-Saharans.
And I don't know where these are all new ideas. This whole idea, I see it recently, that Egyptians were not African. It's literally in Africa. There's a lot of intermingling, and interracialism now. And I say now, I'm talking about the last maybe 2 centuries, maybe 3. But just imagine the mental gymnastics these people have to do to tell you that Africans or an African dynasty is not really African, that it was actually Arab. Just think about the mental gymnastics. If you're talking about the region itself, right? The region itself, this is going to be a very hot take, but Africa is a very harsh climate. It's very sunny, as I'm sure many can imagine. Sunny, it's hot, right? So when you're talking about places like Africa or any sub, obviously the climate is different there because there's a tilt, an alleged tilt of the world, right? So Africa has a bit of a different climate than you would say North America in terms of the equator. But people who live sub-equator, they're darker skin. They have more melanin in their skin, right? It's basically window tint. This melanin, this dark pigmentation in my skin is made to block out the sun. So why would it be that people from a place with higher UV rays, with higher sun strength, with hotter climate, why would those people have window tints installed in their body naturally? Interesting. So to say that these people who are lighter complexion are native to that place is utter nonsense. And again, this is because Nick Fuentes is following. They don't think about these things because they're not intellectual. They're not intelligent people. I'm not saying they need to be college educated, but they're just not intelligent people in general.
Hold on.
Black folks.
Like
But it's a continent.
yeah, sub-Saharan, below the Sahara in Africa is primarily Negroes.
Yeah, my people. Well, 50% of me.
But north of the Sahara, it's more Arabic. Like these are Egyptian girls.
My name is Shayla Yusuf. Where are you from? America. I speak Arabic?
No, no.
I speak English. You speak English?
Yes.
Yes, I love America. Oh, thank you.
We love Egypt.
Name?
We love
I love
Egypt.
America.
My name's
What's your name?
Lisa.
What's your name?
Like these people, we're in 2025. These are mixed people. These people look like, if you look upper brow area, these people look like some Ethiopians, or they look like some sort of East African, right? But their complexion, this is not an African complexion. This is not people that are native to a hot climate. That's not what they look like. Again, people that are native to a hot climate, strong sunlight climate, have dark skin in order to repel the rays. Me in Canada, me in the north of Sweden, right? I'll have vitamin D deficiency because my skin is too dark to absorb the necessary sunlight to keep me healthy in these climates. This is fact. My doctor prescribes me grams, not milligrams, grams, thousands of milligrams per winter in order for me to maintain my normal health. Thousands of milligrams of vitamin D per winter. If you know what those vitamin D drop bottles look like, this is full bottles per month. I'm drinking that, right? So these are not people who are native to that climate. Over the past few hundred years, these people were created through mixing.
Are you even posting the picture with us?
I speak Arabic.
You do very good English. Hi.
Speak Arabic. And there's black people. Well, we like
Also, the broad nose. As you could see, this person has more of a slender nose, right? So this person has been mixed, right? Europeans who are not native to hot cultures have a more slender nose. Why? Because with a slender nose, cold air, Arctic air, is warmed in the nasal cavity before it reaches the brain, before it reaches the esophagus and lungs. Africans, people who are native to warmer climates, have a broader nose. Why? Because warmer air is entering the nose, and there's no need for the skin to filter it and warm it before it enters the brain and the esophagus and the lungs. This is just basic biology here in relation to climate. This is not a native African person. But you see, over the past few hundred years, these people have been allowed to insert this new narrative into history and act as if it's fact. So because we have 200 years of these people walking around in North Africa, all of a sudden they're going to say that Africans didn't build didn't build Egypt.
label them as black here in America that have that skin tone, but they're actually mixed.
Mhm.
They're biracial. Most of them are biracial. Yeah. Like it's not common to see like us in Africa and sub-Saharan unless some white dude like, hey, Keith, they get it, penetrated a sub-Saharan woman and just made these abominations like white supremacy. This is all, man. Look at that abomination. I'd seen it all.
Crack Dog says, "Holy cope, bro! You're scrolling through videos and trying to pick out people with 10% African DNA to claim it as a win." I don't know if you were here since the beginning of the broadcast. This whole video is not. The point is not on who's African, who's not. I'm simply going after the argument that Nick Fuentes has made here that the Egyptians were not black people. This is a modern argument. Okay? So I don't know where you're getting this idea that Egyptians are not African when it's literally in the continent of Africa. Right?
Oh, I seen a couple Negroes with blue eyes walk around with the Velcro hair. Yeah, but Northern Africa, it's still in Africa. Yeah, but they're totally different race of people. Yeah, totally different race. It's like night and day, literally.
Egyptians were not black.
Okay, but you said when they went to Africa, so I just want to.
The interior of Africa in the late 19th century. Scrambled
Okay,
for
so
Africa.
we're now knocking Egypt out of Africa.
Well, Egypt is part of northern Africa.
Right, but
Sub-Saharan
it's Africa. You said Africa, so I'm not trying to get a gotcha. I'm just responding.
Okay, so Chatter, Egyptians were not black. They are African, but not sub-Saharan. Okay, I know that Egypt is not sub the Sahara. My argument is that climate is extremely harsh to people who have less melanin. So potentially it is less harsh than sub-Saharan Africans' climate. Therefore, they are darker. But when you look at native Australians, for example, who have a similar climate, these people are also black skinned. If you look at South Americans who also have a similar climate, these people are black skinned. So I don't understand. I'm not saying there aren't lighter skinned Africans. There are Moroccans who are lighter skinned. There are Egyptians who are lighter skinned, but the Moroccans are mixed with Spanish, European Spaniards. This is known hundreds of years ago. So I don't know what argument you're trying to make.
You're saying
Okay, sure.
Africa.
Yeah.
It's in Africa. It's Egypt. It's kind of ridiculous that there was no written language. So
Well,
I'm just trying to get you to
Sure.
you know,
Egyptians are not
if
Africans.
I'm not pushing back, the internet will. So, you know,
Egyptians are not racial Africans.
Hot take by Nick Fuentes. Egyptians are not Africans. This your king. Geographically false, what he's saying. See, and Candace, this is why, people give, and this is not a racial thing when it comes to Nick and Candace Owens, because I consider Candace Owens a liberal white woman. Candace Owens is a liberal white woman wearing a suit. She's wearing a costume because all her values align with liberal whiteness, right? And she's a woman. Therefore, she's a liberal white woman. How? She is a mother, a new mother. She is not primarily taking care of her family. She's up here debating this guy. What is a new mother doing who's married to a guy who's worth hundreds of millions of dollars? So you can't give that argument of, oh, we need a dual income, right? This woman doesn't need to work another day in her life. So why is she up here on a talk show interviewing this guy, having this guy tell her that Egyptians are not African? Look at her face. This is why she lose the debate.
When I say African,
This guy says we was kangs. No, y'all are the new we was kangs meme. You know why? Because every time I interact with uh these white people who follow Nick Fuentes or people like Crack Dog in the chat over here, they use the we was kangs, which a meme I'm very familiar with. Okay. The thing is, now the whites are the we was kangs because whites like to say, look what we've built. Look at all these empires. Look at everything the white man has built and brought to these dumb N words, these immigrants. But here's the joke: the majority of these white people making those arguments, they live in a $60,000 house. Some of them are unemployed. They're generational pig farmers. Not that there's anything wrong with farming, but these are not elites. White elites, European elites see y'all and they clutch their purse. A lot of y'all is dirty, dingy. You have no history in your family of uh, conquering, no, no elite ties whatsoever, right? Whether it be ties to Europe or whether it be to whites who built America, you have no ties. The only ties you have is hitching your ship to your skin. That doesn't make you accomplished. A lot of y'all have no education. A lot of y'all have no skilled trade, right? But you'll come in here and say we was gangs. I'm not claiming. I know that there were plenty blacks who have no tie to any dynasty, to any king lineage, right? Or to any king lineage. That's all I'm saying. There are obviously, just like there are tiers of whites, right? How come Bulgaria and Romania are not as developed as UK? How come y'all never claim the downtrodden, impoverished European nations? How come it's always the top best of the best European conquerors, the European uh, intellectuals, inventors? How come it's always those guys? You guys never tie yourselves to any downtrodden, alcoholic, compulsive gambler whites. How come? How come? Weird.
and I'm saying sub-Saharan Africans,
Sub-Saharan, okay.
black
say that.
people because it is a different race. In sub-Saharan Africa, and Europeans did not penetrate that until late 19th century. They didn't have any of this. To the extent that you have infrastructure in Africa, it's from the Muslims in the Sahel, in the Maghreb, in northern Africa, where the Arabs colonized. And then you had, Carthage and Egypt, you had ancient civilizations. But sub-Saharan Africa, they didn't have that. You take these people out of that land and put them here, and they're enslaved people. You let them free in a modern, liberal republic they're not going to succeed. It's not going to go well for them. And that was one of the arguments against abolition. People said if you free them without any assimilation, without any kind of process for them to be acclimated, they're going to die. And that's exactly what happened. Many of like the bottom 10% of like the lowest IQ Africans just died off for generations. And it had a, pardon.
Look at Candace. Candace knows she's beat. She enters an argument where her stance is that blacks are less than. Everybody knows that's what Candace truly believes deep down in her heart. Candace doesn't believe that blacks are on the same level intellectually as whites, or uh, even on a level of morality. She truly does. She truly believes that. So she's entering an argument with someone who shares this belief but is not black. So she can't win. She can't win this debate. She has a self-defeating argument. She has a self-defeating argument.
Expression, but it had a
That's why she's looking so somber. She's getting smoked right now. And she's more intelligent than Nick Fuentes, and she's getting smoked. Because all of her arguments that she's made in the past, present, and future are defeated. If she rebuts any of these points that Nick is making, her whole brand goes out the window.
eugenic effect, because over time, if the weakest are dying off, that's one argument for why blacks in America have a standard deviation higher IQ than the blacks in sub-Saharan Africa. So, so I do believe there is something intrinsic going on there. And what makes
Well, I think so too. Like you could go to Africa, some parts of Africa, and you could see them living.
Crack dog, why do you project your insecurities? Blah, blah, blah. I'm not projecting. Literally, no one is saying that. We are talking about averages. Would you deny Asians are on average the smartest? Okay, let me talk about Asians now. I'm glad you brought up Asians. I'm so happy you brought up Asians. Okay. This idea, and you see a lot of white Americans, followers of Nick Fuentes, push forth these tropes. Oh, there are different uh, animal breeds. There are different races. Similarly, right? You wouldn't negate that there are dog breeds that are different. Okay, yeah, I'm not negating that there are even different blacks. There are, of course, the sub-Saharan blacks. There are the northern ones. Again, who I said maybe lighter complexion, but they're still African. When you're talking about Asians now, of course, they have genetic differences, right? But there are also cultural differences. When you look at a place like America that has a very poor education system, right? Unless you're in a top wealthy neighborhood, upper middle class or upper class, you have very subpar in education in the United States. So whites and blacks in these low class, low income areas are batting in the same batting cage. These whites and blacks are on par. They're both getting the same garbage education. They both, again, they can't point to Ethiopia on a map. They can't point to UK on a map. They're getting poor geographic education. They're getting poor historical education. They're getting poor grammatical education. You see people up online now, they don't even know the plural of women is women. They're pluralizing woman and saying woman. One woman, six woman. And they're interchangeable words, women, woman. They're saying one women. This is the American education system. And these are people who have a platform. These are people who are going online and doing debates. These are the intellectuals of America. So, not to go off too much on that tangent, Asians now, their culture is one of respect and one of education, right? They don't have an ignorant culture. Asians, I'm sure in most Asian countries, they can identify most of the world flags. This is something that needs to be done when children are young. You start children off young, and you can steer them into a higher intelligence level, which displays into intelligence quotient, IQ, right? You're not born out the womb with your IQ. Your IQ is very strongly tied to your environment. Okay. I have many educators, top educators in my family. I have people who are in psychology and psychiatry who are close to me in my family and friendship circle. Okay. I'm very familiar with the intelligent quotient, how it's measured, and the differences among different nationalities and different ethnicities. In Asia, just their language alone. Okay. Let me look just for you, Crack Dog, just for you. How many characters in Mandarin, in the Mandarin language? While the total number of Chinese characters is estimated to be over 50,000, including historical and various forms, native Mandarin speaker typically needs to know 3 to 4,000. So let's lowball it and we'll call it 3 to 4,000. 3 to 4,000. Okay. How many characters in kanji? That's the Japanese. There are officially 2,100 kanji characters. 2,100. Okay. Now let's check out how many characters are in English. Drum roll. Does anybody know? You should know, because it's your native language. The English alphabet has 26 characters. So we're talking about 26 versus 2,500. So when you have a child who's learning 2,500 characters, do you think this person's going to grow up to be a 15-year-old who is of low cognition? You have an American child who's unilingual, who's studying an alphabet of 26 characters, can barely master that. Terrible reading level. Most Americans are reading at a grade 5 reading level. Grade 5, right? That's at a 10-year-old's level. Okay? And then you have in Asian countries, they have 2,600 characters. And these kids are mastering this by 10 years old. They have fully mastered. When you're speaking about Asian language, written language now, English, let me get bigger here. English, right? You write on this axis and this axis, right? You understand? When you're writing, this is your axis. You have an X, you have a Y axis, right? Asian languages, and also some other Middle Eastern languages, Hebrew as well, there's another axis, okay? There's this axis. So you have the X, you have the Y, and you have this axis. That's how the lettering tapers. That's why they use a brush. The more you push, the larger your brush stroke, and as you pull away, the thinner. So these are languages that just the simple physical depiction requires a higher intellect, right? So these are children who are being trained in a language that is light years ahead of English. They also have several words for one thing, several words to describe one thing. As you see in Hebrew, you see that in Greek as well, which are similar to our characters. But Asians, they're light years ahead because of their language, because Asian children learn a language that is multitudes more complicated. And that develops the mind at a young age. If you took a white child, if you took a black child, and you put them in Japan and they had to learn kanji, he says, I'm just coping. That's fine. I'm giving you the breakdown and you have no rebuttal. You just say, just coping. Why do Asian kids raised in the West no exposure to kanji? Where did you get that idea that Asian kids raised in the West have no exposure to kanji? Are you familiar with Chinese school? Chinese kids in the West have very often have weekend programs to learn their native language. When all the American kids are watching football and returning their parents' beer cans to get the refunds on the cans, Asian children are doing are studying literature and studying their country's history and language. They're at the chess club. You can't deny that. That's fact. Asians have a completely different culture. Even the Africans you see that come to the United States, they don't partake in the same uh, cultural enjoyment as the Black Americans. So what you're saying doesn't make any sense. These people that have the same complexion, right? Black people, black skinned people, but they're African. How come them in America they do better? How come? Because it's a different culture. The American culture, and you're gonna see, you're very skeptical, but in the next 50 years, the education is just getting worse, and people's intellect level is getting a lot worse.
Yeah. It's like, I'm not gonna call them savages, but
Well,
like
but
what,
they are. They're savages.
yeah, they're walking around like the women are like naked. Their boobs are hanging.
They
They walk around like big bowls of water on their head
They-
and putting.
I forget the term.
They have these weird piercings and scars all over their face. It's barbaric. And I've seen this one dude take a plate and stick it in his lip. Yeah, just stick it in the plate, and it was in. And it got bones in their nose. Yep. Well, but in that movie,
And this is funny because the Hodge twins, they're in the same boat as Candace. That's why at the beginning of the broadcast I explained I will never mock a black, or I will never put down a black at the will of a white person, or to look, to put myself in a higher positioning in front of a white person. This is what these people, their brand now is tied to that. They can't. Their brand is tied to being lesser than. So now they're talking about Africa. I don't even know if they've ever been to Africa. They're talking about people with bone plates in their mouth. Like, this is unbelievable. People are carving stone churches, Orthodox churches, mind you. Right? You got missionaries going over there trying to teach these people all type of stuff. These people had Orthodox churches carved into a stone mountain, and this guy's talking about bone plates. This is American education on display right here.
Wakanda. What's that? Black Panther. Black Panther, right? In that movie, they put it in there. It was some dude sitting there with a plate just sitting in the bottom of his lip, just hanging. Dude like a duck-bill platypus.
Yeah, that's not culture.
That's intrinsic. Well, culture. Well, where does culture come from? Your mindset.
Yeah.
So you cannot say it's just culture.
Yeah, it's not culture. I think you're born the way you are. Like, you're born straight. You're born like this. You're born fast. You're born slow. You're born stupid. I think
You're born stupid. These guys, man, it's too bad. America is failing these people, big time. Big time. You have people who likely, I mean, I don't want to say that they certainly never went to Africa, but you have people that have likely never went to Africa. A lot of people like this have never even left the United States, but they're gonna make all kind of judgments against people around the world. When America is not the leader in education, America does very poorly on a world scale when you're talking about education. Sure, they have some of the best schools. Absolutely. They have some of the top schools, right? These Ivy League schools, they have top schools. But that's not to say that the majority of Americans who don't have access to those schools, those what does it matter?
Well, just look at black people. Every time, who wins a 100-meter race? Every time it's a black person. That's intrinsic.
right. Right.
We both have things that we excel at. Not to put everybody in a box. There's some very fast white people. I'm not saying all white people are slow. It's just inherently we are intrinsic.
Yeah, crack dog. Look, I get it, okay? I'm not trying to go too hard on you, but I obviously there are some Asians who are in street gangs and who, smoke purple kush and sip lean. Okay, I have people in my family who are judges and legal professionals and in the medical world. Okay, that doesn't mean that all blacks are doctors, lawyers, and judges. And likewise, I'm not saying all Asians, monolithically are this way. I'm just explaining the reason for, as a collective, they are seen as more intelligent because their culture encourages that. It's something that's encouraged in their culture. Literacy, intelligence, right? These are things that are seen, that are well accepted in their culture and promoted by all generations. It's very important to them. Whereas other cultures don't promote that. They don't value that. They're more entertainment based, right? That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that, you get it.
Intrinsically, we are born a certain way based on our race. And I think you're born a murderer. I think you're born a person who will force himself on a woman, because I don't have that in me. I could never force myself on a woman, but some people can. Why? Because you're born that way.
You don't understand what we are talking about. You think an exception denies the rule. No one is saying all blacks are low IQ. No, Nick is definitely saying all blacks are low IQ. He's literally saying that. And to say no one is saying that, plenty people are saying that. Are you joking? I have Instagram. I get Instagram comments. On my YouTube, I get comments. There are tons of people who say all blacks are low IQ. And there's some of the lowest IQ whites. That's why they say that. They don't have, it's always the low achieving whites. It's always the low IQ whites. It's always the poor, low income whites who look down on blacks the most because they don't have anyone they can look down on. So they have to look down based on race.
I think personally, yeah, and they're still living like that to this day in Africa.
Yeah.
It's wild.
People uncomfortable about this is the idea that it's unchangeable.
I understand what he said. He said he's talking about averages. Fine. I mean, he has to say that. Probably for legal reasons. But he believes that blacks are inherently lower IQ. Would you honestly take the argument that he's not saying that? He he just said that at the beginning of the live stream. He just said that. When his opening statement was that there are racial differences and it's inherent. That's what he said. Literally what he said. And if you're familiar with Nick's talking points, you'll know that that's what he believes. He says that in a roundabout way, many different occasions.
There's something about, and this is why I'm a Catholic, we do have an inherent desire for universalism. We do believe that there's a common humanity and a common human community and all of that. We hate the idea that we're born a certain way and we can never change. And that's just the way it is. And we even think about this in terms of, it's become not so popular these days to tell children, you can be whatever you want to be. Because we know that's not the case. Some people are tall, some people are short, some people are smart, some dumb, some ugly, some handsome. That's why, by the way, incel dumb.
Some people are dumb. Like Crack Dog over here, you're dumb, right? No contraction for the two words, no apostrophe, just you're dumb. My dumb? Like where's my dumb? Like I possess dumb? This is the type of thing I'm saying. Someone's gonna call me dumb, and you can't even type correctly. I haven't even pointed out all your grammatical errors because I'm not that guy to be like, actually, do you mean you're? I'm not trying to do that right now. But if you're gonna say you're dumb, if you're gonna have a grammatical error in the same sentence of calling me dumb with no punctuation, I mean that's a bad look, bro.
Is a big part of this also.
So you believe these are immutable characteristics that are assigned at birth?
I think that, yes.
For the most part.
Things like race, all those attributes are immutable and unchangeable. And
But they have changed. Just factually speaking, they have changed.
They change over time, over the generations.
Okay, so then you don't think it's immutable, because if this was an immutable
individual
characteristic,
person.
Okay, so you're saying that if you are born at this space and time as a black person in America, here is the cards that you're dealt with, and you can't change that over time.
Something like IQ does not change. No, it doesn't change wildly. It only changes genetically over. IQ is a big one, and that's a genetic trait. And so that can change over the generations, but you can't take an individual that's 75 IQ, which is the average in West Africa, and take them to 100.
So two dumb people can't produce a smart person.
I believe they can, actually.
Yeah.
What does that even mean? And he's saying that the average IQ is 75 in West Africa. The average IQ in the United States is what? Like 97? It's going down, I know. Vast majority of Americans, 83. I'm not getting proper results here. I know that the average IQ is below 100. It's been below 100 for a few years in America. Here they're saying it's approximately 97. Whatever, maybe. I know that
Kids 7 foot tall playing basketball.
like the military will not allow certain people, like the military will not give you a position if your IQ is below, I believe it's 87. Look at the average IQ for whites, not Americans. I mean, average IQ whites in America. Race and intelligence. The thing is, honestly, even if I was trying to find this information unbiased, it would be hard to find because there's so much discrimination that these things are hidden, right? I don't think it's it's annoying at times like this when I'm trying to find it, but people will take these statistics and just run with it when they're lower IQ. Like you'll get a white guy with an IQ of like 80, let's say 88, wink wink. You'll get a white guy with an IQ of 88, and he'll look down on a black person who has an IQ of 94 just because he read on Google that whites have a higher IQ. So that's why they hide these types of things. As a higher intellect person, I agree that the peasants and a lot of these low IQ people should be tucked away from a lot of the information that we have. I think a lot of information should be hidden from low intellect individuals. I fully agree with the elites on it.
You ain't never seen that.
Yeah, hell.
You step
I forget the name of the basketball player. Keith, there's such thing as a miracle sometimes. You can have two dumb people and have an Einstein. That's not typical. It's not going to happen all the time. It's going to happen like once out of every blue moon. You got a better chance of getting struck by lightning, but it does happen. Like I've seen two black people have a white baby. I've seen two white people have a black baby.
Let's call it a defect.
It's crazy.
No, we've had conversations with Nick. He doesn't think all black people are stupid. He just thinks has low IQ. He just believes that blacks compared to all other races, it's more widespread low IQ.
It's more prevalent.
Like, for example, this is how dishonest these people are, like Crack Dog in the chat here. If you took an Asian, right, a baby from China, 14-month-old baby, and you put this person is adopted by low income, uneducated black family in Chicago, right? And this child is exposed to drug use and all kind of degenerate behavior, and the child is not encouraged to excel in school, and the child is fed very unhealthy toxic foods that don't facilitate cognitive function, right? Foods that prevent brain activity, that are proven to prevent proper brain activity. Do you believe that that little Chinese boy would be on par with another Chinese child who is raised in the Chinese culture? Do you believe that? And likewise, do you think a black child who is adopted by a family in China, who a family who values education, who values, you know, the culture, honor, respect, do you think that child inherently is going to grow up to be a lean sipping thug, smoking backwoods at the corner store at the 7-Eleven? Do you really believe that? That's nonsense. It's obviously environmental.
I mean,
there's some Einstein black people, very, very high IQ, but more on average.
You find more low IQ people.
Yeah.
You find low IQ people in all races.
Yeah, but it's more prevalent in sub-Saharan.
Yeah. What else we got?
But
So does that kind of debunk your?
No.
So two dumb people can't produce a smart person.
I believe they can actually.
Yeah.
But
So does that kind of debunk your?
no, because it's rare that happens. But IQ is a heritable trait, so it's unlikely that happens.
Yeah, this dude's all about honesty. Anybody ready for all that?
Yeah.
See, this is the angle the Hodge twins have to take, where they lose half their audience. It's unbelievable.
I like Nick. Nick's a good dude. I think he's so misunderstood.
Yeah, you find low IQ people, white people. I mean,
It's just more prevalent in certain demographics of people. There's no denying that. We had the test scores.
yeah, they did an IQ test on races, and blacks scored the worst.
Yeah.
There's the bottom of the barrel.
But I'm pretty sure they was the highest when it comes to physical feats. I mean, look at football. Look at boxing. Look at all the sports.
Yeah, all the speed and power, typically as a black person.
Not saying black
That's
people,
some-
not saying white people can't be fast and be powerful. It's just more prevalent when it comes to.
You don't think it's that black people apply themselves more in sports, and white people like, no, I'm gonna go to school and make something out of myself. I'm not gonna rely on sports. Do you think it has anything to do with that? No, I don't think so, because when you look at the Olympics,
I think there's certain cases if
Okay, Crack Dog. He says there are studies that have been done. Black kid adopted by white parents literally bear out exactly what you're saying. Just because they aren't a thug doesn't mean the correlating IQ. IQ isn't behavioral. Yeah, I understand IQ is not behavioral. But what I'm saying is, and here's the thing. I'm not ruling out that intellect, there is an aspect that is genetic. And that's why I said there are different tiers of black people, there are different tiers of white people. But the argument Nick is making is that all sub-Saharan blacks share this trait because of the level of pigmentation in the skin. That's the argument Nick is making. It's the level of pigmentation. It is dark skin equals low IQ, lighter skin equals higher IQ. That's the argument he's making. That argument is supported by the fact that he said Egyptians are not African. Because he said he's basically saying Egyptians are not dark skinned because dark skinned people are stupid. That's the line of logic. That's how you follow his line of logic. Right? So sure, if you take twins, they have the same genetic code. My argument is that there are people who are dark skinned who are exceptionally intelligent, extremely high IQ. You have some people in Africa that are inventing things by the day. Americans don't know about that because they only read their own news. They only read internal. The the average American is not even interested in what the rest of the world is doing. If it has nothing to do with them and their hamburger, they don't care. So I'm not saying that there isn't a genetic component. The point I'm making is that all dark skinned people are not dumb simply because they are dark skinned. All Asian people are not intelligent simply because they are Asian or Chinese or Japanese, or someone is not higher intelligence because they are white. Because you have countries that are extremely developed, first world countries, United Kingdom. You could make the argument for Italy, right? Spain, right? These were countries that were conquerors. Then you have other countries, Eastern Europe, countries that did not develop, countries that are maybe 30, 40 years behind the Western world. So to say that this is a white versus black thing, this is a cultural thing, and it is a genetic thing, but it's not based on white black. It's based on who are the intelligent people of the blacks, who are the intelligent people of the whites. And I don't allow low intelligence, low performing whites to hitch their wagon to these upper performing whites, high class elites. I don't allow that.
Put in the right environment, they would excel.
Yeah, because I
They
knew
would do
some
better. I knew some couple white boys in school, man. There was some
yeah.
dudes could run and jump and
Dude, why are you putting this on me? This is the argument Nick is making. You keep saying this. No one said all dark. You can't say no one. Plenty of people share that worldview. That dark skinned people are stupid. Is this the argument you're really trying to make? Like at this point, you're just being disruptive. Are you really trying to make the argument that no one says dark skinned people are dumb? Really, in 2025? I'm misrepresenting? Okay, his argument was intelligence is genetic. His supporting argument was Egyptians, who are seen as a very intelligent civilization, were not African. What's the takeaway of that? What's the takeaway? I'm not trying to misrepresent the guy. This is the takeaway. He's saying, well, blacks didn't have two-story buildings. What's the takeaway of that? Is that building up black people or is that belittling black people? I don't care who brought up Egypt. He said Egyptians are not black people. He said he made the argument black people did not have architectural technology past two-story buildings. That's a blanket statement. That's a blanket statement about black people and their capabilities in architecture. Yeah, am I crazy?
wasn't even in sports. Went out there and I remember I had a friend. I could launch up like 20, 21 and a half, 22 feet. He just went out there and just long jump 19 feet. 5'8", fat white boy. He wasn't fat. He was chubby. He wasn't cut. He wasn't ripped like I was. If he'd applied himself, that white boy could have probably jumped 24 feet. Not chubby. Keith. He was just your run-of-the-mill white boy. He wasn't fat. He was just average size. He was not fat at all. What are you talking about? That dude had some skinny legs on him, too.
Keith, I'm talking about his midsection.
Okay, he had a little gut action.
Okay.
But he wasn't fat. It was just, he had like a little spare tire around his waist. A small one. Then that one white dude, basketball dude could jump.
Yeah.
I just think,
Don't talk about this.
It might have been a
So that's the boys, the Hodge twins, tap dancing as usual. Candace Owen losing the debate. Now let's look at these Black Americans now, just to show how there's not one type of Black. You got Black Americans who are seemingly not achieving anything, and you have Africans coming in the country 1 year, 2 years, building up communities, building up businesses. That in itself is an argument that Blacks are not a monolith. They're not one and the same, right? These are different people. The people who are brought to America, right, essentially as slaves, these are not the same people who were brought to, I don't know, another places in the Caribbean, right? A lot of these people were shipped from different areas in Africa. Some of these people, very few, are descendants of people who were there natively. There were people who explored and were in these regions. You look at Australia, the native Australians. Australia is cut off from the rest of the world. How did those people get there? How did those people get there? They didn't take a bridge. So if there were people going to Australia hundreds, maybe thousands of years ago, then who's to say they weren't going to America? You see this person, you see this kid on the New York subway. You don't think that's a Black child? So there are different people. These people look different, right? These people have a different look, right? Considering their region, they look like they're mixed with Indian, right? These are the indigenous people of Australia. Okay. So all Africans are not monolithic here. I don't know why Homeboy's trying to argue for Nick in the chat. Hold on. Bear with me here. Crack Dog says Aboriginals, Australian Aboriginals are closer genetically to Europeans than they are Africans. Yeah, if you test them now, why do you think that is, genius? You know Australian history? Why do you think genius? All knowing crack dog. Please enlighten me. Why do you think Australian Aboriginals, as tested today, would have a strong European genetic aspect? You some kind of black Israelite. No, not a black Israelite. Don't put me in your box. Yeah, so why do you think they have a European gene? Why do you think they have a European gene? It is because Australia is a penal colony of England. You think those people were not mingling? You think these people were not? It's like it's unbelievable. You people like it's unbelievable. Anyway, I just wanted to show that because I'm making the argument that there are different Africans. If you look at blood types, the blood type correlates with this, right? You have a certain tribes in Africa that have, I believe it's the O blood type. I may be wrong. I'm not a medical practitioner, but there's a blood type that has the more universal blood type. So these people were, it's believed, right, that these were the original people who populated the earth because their blood type and genetics allow them for a closer familial relations. We'll say, we'll leave it at that. where you can procreate with cousins and not have as many birth defects as you would in the other blood types. Don't look at me. These are the biologists that are saying that. So that's the biological argument to those people having populated the Earth. When, of course, at one point in time they would have been related, right? Hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago. Anyway, let's look at these Black Americans trying to fight their own people. Now here's the joke. This is where Black Americans get in trouble, right? They really believe, just like Candace Owens, tap dancing Candace Owens and the Hodge twins, sadly, they truly believe that if they hitch their wagon to America and they claim American culture and they claim to be FBA and they claim that they're foundational to the building of the United States. They don't know that people like Nick Fuentes look at them like Africans fresh off the boat. People like Nick Fuentes don't believe that these people built anything in the United States. Don't believe that these people are entitled to any type of compensation or repatriation for their the work of their ancestors. They don't believe that at all. So these same Black Americans, FBAs, are really trying to hitch their wagon to people that aren't going to give them a red cent. And the Africans that are coming to the United States, those people, I'm sure some of them would like to get some repatriation. Some of them would try to sneak in. The majority of them don't care. The majority of them came from a country that didn't have a middle class, right? A lot of these African nations, it's either you're poor, low class, or you're very wealthy. So a lot of these people, they don't care. They don't have equivalency of their diploma. So they got to work their way up from the bottom. They get low income jobs, but in a few years, these people make investments. They have their African communities, and that's what Black Americans are really angry at. It's not about people trying to get repatriations. There's no check on the table. There's no money coming. There's no money to steal. There's no money to tether. So this is the real reason that Black Americans are angry at these other Black cultures coming in, because these people are coming in and they're actually building in a fraction of the time that Black Americans are building. And that's tied to my argument of these are different breed of Black people. They're all one and the same in terms of they should work together, because visually, according to these Nick Fuentes type whites, visually they're the same people, so they should act together in a certain sense. They should help each other build communities in a certain sense. But on a level of uh, ambition and a level of cultural morality, Africans and Caribbeans are smoking the Black Americans. my stance regarding the whole repatriation argument, they were promised this, right? FBAs or whatever they want to call themselves, the Black Americans who do have a tie of lineage to people who were enslaved in America. It's not like they made this up. They were promised this. The problem is that white culture has seen very clearly in front of them over the past 200 years or so that this is not a true priority of the Black community in the United States. If this were a priority, it would have been done already. Black Americans are more concerned with trying to learn how the new trend, the new twerk, the new they're trying to download the new rap album for free. They're not trying to pay for Spotify. They're trying to find out if they could buy food stamps off somebody in the parking lot. Those are that's what's top of mind of the average Black American, right? I'm saying average. I'm not saying, of course, there are some who excel and there are some who are worse, right? But the average Black American is not fighting for repatriation. And you have the people who, at the bottom, complain about this, cry about repatriation. And then you have the Blacks at the top who just understand that they can work hard, put their head down, have their family, and nobody cares. Will they get the respect from white culture or white communities? No, no, they won't. That's what Candace Owens realized. Because Candace Owens, right? Candace Owens has tied her wagon to white culture for years. And she doesn't get the respect. You see, Nick Fuentes doesn't hesitate to tell her, listen, you are inherently less intelligent than white culture. You'll have people who are low IQ whites who will see someone who's accomplished. Say what you want about Candace Owens. She's accomplished, she's educated. You'll have a rural white who's a fan of Nick Fuentes thinking that he is superior to her simply because of his skin. This has to be promoted and propagated because if it weren't, these people would lose their mind. That's why they tie themselves so tightly to this supremacy, right? But she wants to be the face. This is another problem with Black American culture that the immigrant blacks, the Africans, don't have this problem. Black American culture is very gynocentric. Black American culture is led, is run by females. You cannot have a cohesive culture last very long when it is run and led by females. I don't care who's going to be offended by that comment. It's facts. White culture is not, well, now you can make the argument the women they're getting there because the white women are taking a page out of Black American women's books. And they are now saying they're strong, they're independent, they don't need men. These white women are so dumb that they can't even look at the Black community, Black Americans, and see how detrimental that was to the culture. These single women who completely destroyed Black America. This was something that was, you know, presented to Black women as very enticing, right? They made it very attractive. to not have a husband. Oh, you're gonna get benefits. Oh, you're gonna get this. Oh, you're gonna get that. Black men are painted as violent. They're painted as criminals. And now you see these feminists, right? These radical white women now are following this same playbook. And you're gonna see what's gonna happen to white men in about 50 years in America. Same thing. Because these single mother households, it doesn't discriminate based on race. Y'all gonna see. But all that to say, black uh any black movement in the United States is controlled by women. And that's why the Africans are doing better than y'all when they come to the United States. Because the Africans have a patriarchal system. African culture is very patriarchal. Ain't no African men listening to their wives. I'm not saying they're mistreated, right? I'm not saying that, you know, a wife doesn't have a say in the marriage, right? Of course. Of course. Women's input is extremely valuable, right? But I'm saying on a leadership level, black Africans don't have that problem. Black Africans have cohesive family structure because it's culturally embedded in them. And this is one of the fundamentals that's necessary to succeed. The strong family structure. One sec, I gotta fix this screen share here. I don't know what the heck is going on.
Your past life. Now, of course, at this particular time, prior lifestyle, as I believe, a self-proclaimed pimp, a rapper, he had a song with lyrics like "Wash Your Ass" or something like that. So Yvette Carnell was pretty much trying to put Tariq Nasheed in his place, saying that you cannot be any kind of a leader based on your past life. Now, of course, at this particular time, people started taking sides, and once you start getting into a kind of back and forth battle, like with Tariq Nasheed and roasting and making jokes and stuff like that, it's very difficult to win. Unfortunately for Yvette Carnell, she fell into some of the back and forth banter with trying to make jokes and things like that with Tariq Nasheed, which is something you just don't do. Like Dr. Umar tried that. It doesn't work well. Like Tariq Nasheed, that's where he's the most excellent. When you start going back and forth and gibbering and jabbering and things, it's not going to work out well for you. But it wasn't that Tariq Nasheed was roasting her up, because he did. I think the most damaging thing that he released was this information. And the information was that Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore actually stole ADOS from a guy by the name of Norris Shelton. Now, remember, their first actual
scandal, big scandal
meeting or conference was in Louisville, Kentucky, and Norris Shelton is from Louisville, Kentucky. This is what Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore was leveraging against Tariq Nasheed, that he stole their movement or he co-opted their movement. But no, what we found out was, according to Tariq Nasheed, that Norris Shelton was the one that really came up with ADOS. Instead of American Descendants of Slaves, he put Descendants of American Slaves. And so it was DOAS, I believe. And that was the real difference. And it got so bad that other people started to recognize him as being the real leader of ADOS. Black Patriarch, a very popular channel in Black YouTube in the past, he made a video, Meet Norris Shelton, the real creator of the ADOS movement. And he brought proof.
This is insane to me. And, you know, white Americans must laugh when they see these internal fights amongst black Americans, because white Americans don't play that. You white, you know? And you black, you black. White Americans see all y'all the same. That's what I don't understand. People like Candace, I don't know if she understands that. She doesn't go through life like she understands that most white people, whether they're racist or not, see all black people as a monolith. Most. Not saying all, but I'm saying most white people, racist or not. It doesn't need to be from a malicious standpoint. It's just out of ignorance. They see all y'all the same. So the fact that there are these internal fights, these Hebrew Israelites and the FBAs and the evangelicals and the African blacks and the Haitians and everybody trying to pretend like they not like the other, they see you all as the same. The best you could do is work hard and make sure your family is good.
Captured Africans and bred their offspring to be slaves. That's what we are. We're descendants of slaves. An African American is a person from Africa who comes to America to make money and goes through the immigration department and gets a visa or obtains citizenship. That's an African American, same as a Chinese American, a German American, a Italian American. We are none of those. We are descendants of American slaves. And the reason I make that point so vital, we are the only race of people that is bred to the most powerful country in the world. We're the only child, but we don't know that. We are running around here thinking we're African Americans. No, we're not African Americans. We're not even close. We're descendants of American slaves. We're the only race that was ever bred in America. We're the only child.
Bro, did a smoke detector just go off in this guy's freaking conference? That is hilarious. I almost could swear I heard a smoke detector go off. What a bad look.
Then he continued the assault on Yvette Carnell's character.
Dude, I mean, they just blatantly took this dude's stuff. And he's out there in Louisville. That's where they had their first conference, out there in Louisville, out there in Kentucky. This brother, Norris Shelton, he distinguished us as an ethnic group using the term descendants of American slaves. The ADOS people, the group, they be like, well, we didn't steal it. It ain't the same. Ours, American descendants of slavery. So it's different. They changed two words around.
But wait, there's more.
That's just like, hey, man, I'm about to form a country. I'm going to call it America's United States. Well, there's already the United States of America. No. This is different now. This ain't the United States of America. No, this is going to be called America's United States. I founded that now.
Got him. So that example he gives is basically saying, like, if somebody were to do that to the United States and call it the reverse, it's still the same thing, which is exactly what Yvette Carnell did. And if you listen to that lecture, he's actually accusing her of not only stealing the name, but actually stealing the thought process from Mr. Norris Shelton without giving him credit. Another thing that Tariq Nasheed and Yvette Carnell differ on is economics. Now, Yvette Carnell is more of a socialist kind of person who, in my honest opinion, believes that, hey, we don't have very much as black people and we need more.
Like, just look at that image. You think this is the image that, strong black American men want to get behind? This is why there's no unity. Because you have almost near no example of quality African American men that want to get involved in this. Because, as I said, the high level black people in the United States, what do they all have in common? That they're not involved in all this racial politics. A lot of them just work hard and they just succeed, and that's it. They move out the hood. The men that would be in these groups, last thing they're gonna do is go to a conference and see this chick giving a lecture.
And Tariq Nasheed is of the different mindset. Like, we can go out there and get it ourselves, and we don't need to be in a dusty begging sort of mindset.
This woman is over the age of 40, living at home with her parents and talking about, well, it's because black folks, based on the data, don't have the money. So all of us should be living with our parents. This type of crazy talk. Family, that failure, loser talk, we don't need that.
But the worst thing that came out was this.
This woman is out here trying to give you advice and allegedly is living at home with her parents over the age of 40. Marking your name on ramen noodles. Your mama's coming in the room asking questions. Baby, I found some money in your dildo drawer.
In this instance, Tariq Nasheed took a shot at Yvette Carnell's sexuality. While Yvette Carnell may have meant that Tariq Nasheed couldn't be the face of ADOS.
Yeah, this is another thing. A lot of these black movements, they get co-opted by a lot of different other movements. I'm not gonna say what people. You know, I can't say that.
And also how many people feel about it in the Black American community. It could be inferred by those that, well, if I'm not fit to lead, then maybe based on what you do, you're not fit to lead. Now, he didn't say that, but I can say that.
Shout out to Champion Feminist in the chat. Champion.
A lot of people would bring that up. That how can Yvette Carnell try to lead a movement for black people, and Yvette Carnell is living a homosexual lifestyle? Like, if she's going to talk about Tariq Nasheed in that same light, then we got to bring up the fact that we can't have a person representing us from the LGBTQ community, because often the LGBTQ community is conflated with black issues. So if we put her up there, she will do the same thing. So we can't trust her. Fast forward. All seemed to be okay. Until the other day, I got a notification. Now, listen, I do follow both Yvette Carnell and Tariq Nasheed, and I think both of them are excellent in their breakdowns about, like either hashtag FBA or ADOS, which tends to be.
And don't get this wrong. It's not to say, because we got Champion Feminist in the chat. I don't want to offend. It's never my intention to offend any feminists, even. I may not agree with certain feminist ideals, but it's not to say that women don't have a role in these organizations. But men have a role in life. Women have a role in life. Women have a supporting role because their aptitudes are well paired with a supportive role. Men's aptitudes are very, brute. It could be depicted as aggressive, confident, right? Although you have many women who are adopting these aptitudes nowadays as well, believing that these are star aptitudes of women. But in these organizations, women are very valuable. If you have organizations that are full of people with families, right? There's value in having a female aspect in these organizations. It can't be just a bunch of men, because look at how he exposed her for being one of these people, right? Why do you think she could be exposed like that? Because she's a person who is alone. This is not a female archetype. It's not a feminine archetype to be alone at this age, wearing your blazer, doing press conferences. That's not your role. A woman's role is a beautiful role, but when they try to impersonate men, that's not their role, and they don't do well. And the evidence of them not doing well is the fact that strong men, are just not going to follow that. Strong men are not going to get behind a movement that's led by this. That's just the facts. You have to know your role. I know my role, right? I'm not going to go to a white supremacist rally and try to take over. Doesn't make any sense, right? People need to know their role.
Exact thing, as far as the lineage is concerned. But Yvette Carnell posted this. She goes, "Since we're discussing hilarious tomfoolery, I can't believe some of y'all tried to ride with this. I forgive y'all because I love you. But," now this is Tariq Nasheed when he had braids, and there's the FBA flag that he has there. And I went into the comments and I saw this, and how much he charging for the flag. "I still rock with bro. He has his ways, but he's obviously a very smart man, and he can only sell goods if people want to buy them. His movies are very good and were much needed. Both of you are grown and need to stop bickering, even if you don't want to work together. I rock with both of y'all. We need reparations. Whether ADOS or FBA, same thing, same goals. There's an old saying in Tennessee. I know it's in Texas. Probably
like this, a commenter that will say we need reparations. Right? Y'all don't need nothing. You were promised it, so you deserve reparations. in my opinion. But you do not need them. You should be self-sustaining. You should be building up your own life. There are white people that have it a lot worse than some blacks in America. It's not just because they're white that they're doing better than every black in America simply because they're white. There are a lot of whites that are suffering. So why is it that you have some people who are doing better than whites are claiming that they need reparations? This is a feminized culture.
NBA, same thing, same goals. There's an old saying in Tennessee. I know it's in Texas, probably Tennessee, but that says, "You fool me once, shame on you. Fool me, you can't get fooled again." Another person goes, "This jigger." This person says, "A museum curator, rapper, dating coach, author, film producer. Did he add any more titles of self-appointed expertise in 2025?" I'll never understand too, Yvette. At this point, I don't want to. And so, honestly, what is my take about the situation? What it seems like is Yvette Carnell felt slighted because Tariq Nasheed started hashtag FBA, and she also still feels slighted. I mean, I saw another Instagram post and she was talking about him. To be honest, I don't see Tariq Nasheed paying her any attention. But for me, what I believe that if it was still about reparations and getting it for the community, as much as that was the case, I don't know if she should have been offended that Tariq Nasheed started hashtag FBA. I mean, I know that she probably wished that he could afford it, his people to her or whatever. But again, I feel like the back and forth between the both of them, it kind of hurt the cause.
That's the thing. This is divide and conquer. And as I said, whites just sit back and laugh because dividing yourselves, even if you want to talk about Mexicans or South Americans as a whole, or you want to talk about some whites, as I just said, a lot of whites are low income. A lot of whites are in these same classes as these blacks, and a lot of whites are not discriminatory. A lot of whites are mad chill. A lot of whites are very chill people, and they would be allies to these causes. I see, on different people's platforms. Shout out to CT, and other platforms that I frequent, right? Chaotic Truth platform, of course, I'm referring to. But I see this separation, this division, and oh, you're not dark enough, or oh, you're African, or oh, you're a white guy, you can't speak on this. At the end of the day, an ally is an ally. If someone rocks with you, someone rocks with your culture, and someone is actively trying to see that you succeed, a lot of Jewish people as well, very tied to the black community, who genuinely care about the success of the black community. These people are not all fire breathing dragon elites, right? The Jewish people. You have a lot of Jewish people that grew up in the hood. I know personally some. You have some. Look at Brooklyn, look at Long Island, right? A lot of huge Jewish community. A lot of these people rock with the black community. But then you'll have people that are trying to be so divisive, right? An ally is an ally. You have elite blacks that wouldn't even piss on you if you were on fire. So it's not about color, you know? But yeah, a little recap. So homeboy, what was this guy's name from the chat? Homeboy. Crack Dog. A little recap. Crack Dog. Crack Dog. Shout out to Crack Dog. The Crack Dog was saying, why do Asian kids raised in the West no exposure to kanji make up the upper? Well, here you go, Crack Dog. Just a recap. Recap for Crack Dog over here. There are 2,136 kanji characters in the kanji alphabet. So compared to 26 characters in the English language, underdeveloped as language. This is why these people are more intelligent. Because in the formative years, the children's formative years, they are learning 2,136 characters. Do you think the Japanese were assessing the babies and they say, oh, this a baby is a very intelligent. We must show him 2,136 characters because he is so intelligent? Or do you think they're like, yo, we're going to show this kid 2,100 characters so that it develops their mind at a young age, and they're going to be intelligent, sharp. Which do you think it was? Chicken or the egg? Which came first? You think they looked at the baby and they said, "Oh, this kid, he has a very big head. We will teach him 2100 characters." Or were they saying, "Let's teach this child 2100 characters so he can develop his cognition and smoke these Americans that are learning their 26 characters over there and can barely master the 26, can barely put an apostrophe for YOURE." Right? People are not. People are Recap, got Nick Fuentes over here saying that Africans never had more than 2 stories of architecture before the Europeans came. Rock-hewn churches in Lalibela. 11 churches, Orthodox churches carved into the side of a mountain. Monolithic structures, one piece, carved into mountains. Carved into mountains. Oh, whoa. Based? This is why they don't talk about this stuff. Can't make this up. Can't make this up. Can't make this up, folks. So Nick Fuentes and his bunch of butt buddy adjacent following want to believe that they're more elite than these people because they're white. Ladies and gentlemen, I rest my case. If you enjoyed the stream, leave a like. Don't forget to follow, right? Or I should say subscribe on YouTube. Follow on over on Twitch. We on Kick. We on Twitch. We on YouTube. We out here. We on fire. We on fire. I'm on fire. I'm on fire. That's right, folks. We out of here. If you enjoyed, rewind the stream. Watch it over. Packed full of info here. Packed. We more packed than an Indian train in rush hour. Packed full of facts. Packed. Have yourselves a good one. And don't fight against your fellow allies. I don't care if they black, white, Mexican, women, men, lizard people. An ally is an ally. Stop dividing yourselves.